Welcome, everyone, to our MVP Chalk Talk with you this afternoon. I'm Rob Fischer, host of Grizzlies Live pre- and post-game on Fox Sports and also sideline reporter for the Memphis Grizzlies. And it is a pleasure to welcome today our guest on today's Chalk Talk. Grayson Allen is with us. Grayson, how are you, man?
Doing good, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Happy belated birthday. A week ago today was the birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
What did Grayson Allen get for his birthday?
What I get?
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing much. I took a nice vacation to Colorado. Had some fun there up in the mountains.
Very nice. And it's weird because usually this week you're probably in a lot of pain, going through training camp, going through preseason games, but with the season the way it was and everything that happened, obviously you're able to vacation. How are you feeling health-wise?
I'm feeling great. It's nice to get a little downtime now. It's interesting. You're not used to having this time off. Usually it's June, July, August that you're planning stuff to do and trying to do stuff, but now it's October, November, December, and but it's been nice. You know, I've been in Memphis working out, training, and then kind of going some places on weekends or traveling home or finding a place to go for a quick vacation.
You know, the season just ended, which is crazy because this is, like I said, normally when you begin, but because of how weird it was and you guys were there for a couple of weeks, I mean, how ready are you to get started again?
I'm a little antsy. I want to get back going again. I think part of that for me is the time between kind of felt like the off season, but we started up in the playoffs instead of going to preseason, right. Or started up with 8 games in the bubble instead of going to preseason. So that felt a little different, but I'm kind of antsy to get going and get started again, even though I know we don't really know when that'll be.
Really want to ask you about the bubble. First of all, just the overall experience. I mean, when you look back on it, what was it like? What was it like to be in that environment?
Yeah, well, I said it like the first 2 days that when we got there that I thought that with us having to be in the bubble, I thought the NBA did an incredible job of they did like the best they could with it, because they were crazy circumstances that took us there, and I think they did a great job. But it was someone described it as like a AAU tournament, like
right.
An extended AAU tournament. And all the teams you see all the teams walking around, and that's really the only people you see because the hotels are sold out with AAU teams, but in this case, it's NBA teams. And so that's really what it felt like. It kind of took you back to playing high school basketball in the summer on league teams, but we were just going to be there for a little bit longer.
It had to be weird. I mean, yes, it's NBA teams playing in this bubble and being around these hotels and not having fans and just playing games and going back to your rooms. I mean, it had to be weird. Did you get used to it ever?
A little bit. I think everybody had to get used to the playing with no fans. Our first that we played 2 exhibition games, I think. And that first one, maybe even the first 2, there was no fan noise pumped in at all. So it was silent, and the only thing you could hear were people talking on the court, players, coaches, refs, whatever it is. It's the only thing you could hear. And then they started pumping in the crowd noise. So I think those 2 like shock factor games of there's not even any, like there's nothing playing. Then when you get going and like, okay, it's weird not running out to your home fans when it's a home game for you. You run out and there's no one there, but we still hear the noise. So I think having that crowd noise pumped in kind of normalized it a bit.
Yeah. Hey, when's the last time, can you remember, that you played in front of nobody?
Like an actual game? Oh, gosh. Probably like some type of AAU game early on in high school. Just your mom and dad sitting over there.
You never had to call the snitch line, did you, while you were down there?
No, I didn't. Thankfully, I did. I didn't have to report any of our own guys either.
we got an email question from one of our MVPs, Karen, asking about how going through the experience, how important or how excited are you to play in front of fans again and to play in front of a building?
Oh no, that I think we all have a much deeper appreciation of that now after going without it. It's so nice to hear the crowd noise, the oohs and ahs after threes, dunks, good defensive plays, the rallying behind you when you're starting to make a run. To if you get down a little bit, the other team's making around to cheer to try to get you to come back. Or when you're in opposing stadiums, the cheers, the boos and the cheers when they do stuff. It's just all part of the game. It makes the atmosphere so much better. And we've all the guys in the NBA we've played with crowds for the majority of our career because college, now in the NBA, and we've become so accustomed to that we all feed off of that. We feed off the energy that the crowd brings. We feed off the excitement that other people have for what's going on in the court. So we're all going to be very happy when we get back to that.
Yeah, you talked about how great the NBA did of the job of the bubble, and certainly they've been lauded for it, and they were terrific. I mean, to see it go through with no positive tests and to be able to finish the season the way they did, it certainly was great. If you had to go back and it started over, what would be something that you'd be like, maybe next time this could happen that would make the experience even better? Is it as simple as family? I mean, is that something?
I think family is the only thing that could have made it better under the circumstances. And then we all saw like the first 2 or 3 days when we were there, all the guys were like tweeting out pictures of their food or putting it on Instagram, and it's like little boxed lunches.
Right.
But that was, we all understand now looking back at it that was just the first 2 days because literally everybody that's inside the bubble had to quarantine when you get there. So this is the best that you could do. Then after that, you get some great food for the rest of the time. So, looking back on it, if I could have just known that, because those first 2 days were like, man, I'm just in my room. I can't open the door. I can't go anywhere. There's no family, and get delivered these boxed lunches. So if I would have been able to tell myself, hey, the food's only going to be for 2 days, and the family's not going to be there, but I think the family is the biggest part.
Yeah. Now you guys played basketball while you were there as well. What do you think going through those 8 games, which when it started, it felt like, kind of playoff and, mattered. Every game mattered for you guys. You went through some tough injuries, obviously, but what do you think the team learned out of that bubble experience on the court?
I think just the precision that has to come with those type of important games. Those we are 1 play or 2 plays away from being the 8 seed in our play-in game against Portland. Because I don't know how many we had an overtime game. We had multiple games that were decided by single-digit points. Like we were in every single game. But you can look back throughout the entire game and see plays where you fell asleep on a coverage or you made the wrong read. There's something. And so I think the precision of learning, knowing, executing a game plan and putting that into action in the game is kind of a thing that we learned. And there's an extra importance on it in games that mean, like, those games meant something. Everyone was fighting to get to the playoffs. They were fighting for their spot. Those games that mean more usually are decided by a few possessions. And it's not always the end of the game possessions that are at fault. It's not always a foul at the end of the game. That's not the reason you lost. It was missed coverages throughout the first, second, third, and fourth quarter.
In your play, night in and night out, you were setting season highs for points. You were setting career highs for threes made. And offensively, what you were doing, it felt like you were really comfortable. And it was really unfortunate when you got injured because you were playing so well. But to be able, you never thought you'd come back and play this season. But to be able to come back and play and to be in that comfort zone that it seemed like you were in, how big was that for you?
No, that was awesome. When I first got injured and we we kind of found out the severity of it, we were like, he's going to be injured indefinitely. It's probably going to be the rest of the season, but we're just going to say indefinitely because you never know during the rehab process you could come back. And so it was nice that we didn't put rest of the season, because that's what it wasn't the rest of the season. The season ending. It was nice to come back. I mean, it felt so good to get back out there on the court and just play 5-on-5. And I wasn't able to play any 5-on-5 at all till we got to the bubble. So I'm doing this. It was 6 months between my injury and coming back to play again. And I didn't play any 5-on-5 up at that time because we're doing because we had restrictions because of COVID. Like, we couldn't come in contact. It was just individual, me and a coach. So for 6 months, I hadn't played any 5-on-5. And then that first practice, and then we got to the bubble day 2 or no, day 3, because we quarantined for 2. Day 3, we just played 5-on-5 the whole time, and that felt so good. It was so much like I felt like a little kid out there playing basketball for the first time. So fun.
Very nice. Phyllis, one of our MVPs, Phyllis, she asked the question of how do you spend your time? You did talk a little bit about traveling and doing things on the weekend. She said, what interests you outside of basketball?
I'd say the thing that I spend most of my time on is gaming, and you guys can kind of see in the blurry background of my setup that I'm in the current state of moving my setup somewhere else, and there's a bunch of cords and stuff on the ground. But I'm a gamer. I stream on Twitch when I'm playing video games sometimes, which gives me a cool opportunity to do something I love, which is play video games, then also interact with people who come in, ask questions, hang out, whatever. Other than that, I like to do some outdoor stuff. I'm spending a lot of time with my girlfriend, and I have a dog whose name is Teddy. And Teddy actually we went to Aspen with us, and we were going on hikes, bike rides, everything outdoors we could. I think we went everywhere in Aspen and surrounding. We were there for a week, and so I like to be outdoors. So it's a bit of a contrast, getting outdoors somewhere beautiful and then coming
staying
inside
indoors. Very good. All right, I want to get back to your Duke days for a minute. And you didn't say this, I say this. Duke to me is America's team. Why? They're like the Dallas Cowboys. You either love them or you hate them. Being in that program, how much fun was it knowing that you were hunted every time you played, and almost every time you went into an opposing gym, it was the biggest game for the opposition, and obviously the crowd fed off that as well. How much fun was that experience of being that hunted team?
No, it was awesome. And I mean, getting back to us talking about playing with fans, like everywhere we went would sell out in college. Like, we never played an empty gym. We're playing at home at Duke. It's of course always sold out, no matter if it's an exhibition game or you're playing UNC. And we play other teams like I won't throw school under the bus. Or maybe Boston College. You go to Boston College. Boston College, they don't have a lot of basketball fans there. They don't pack their gym. Well, when we go there, they have a pretty full gym. And so that's it. You always have energy from fans, and you learn to feed off of that, and a lot of times it was negative, and there's a lot of negative stuff, a lot of negative fans when you play for Duke, but you just learn to feed off of it, and you just have a ton of fun with it.
As a player, and you were a guy that certainly you got it from fans around the country. You enjoyed it? I mean, it kind of gets you going when you're on the floor?
Yeah, I didn't at first.
Yeah.
It took me maybe into my junior year to figure it out. And I learned to love it, so it's a long time. But you learn to love it, you learn to expect it, you learn to makes you better.
You were a champion at Duke. How hard is it winning an NCAA tournament when you compare it to, winning games, winning conference titles, to win an NCAA tournament? How much different is that than anything else?
Well, that's the interesting thing about the NCAA tournament is. It's not the best team that wins that year. It's not the team with the best record. It's not the most talented team. It's the team that gets on a hot run for 8 games in March. And sometimes that's the best team. Most of the time, it's not the best team that year. And that's just because there's a level of focus that you have to have. Like, that's a tough stretch to play 8 games with so many eyes on you, and if you lose, that's it. It's not the NBA where we'll go to their city in 2 days and we'll play them
right.
back to ours, and we get a nice series. If we lose one, let's get it back next time. No, it's that or go home, and that's what makes March Madness so much fun to watch. It's these teams play for 40 minutes, and every single possession they're grinding it out and trying to advance and go on to the next round. And there's a large sense of pride behind it. You're representing your school, and so to answer your question, it takes a ton of focus and a ton of toughness to win in that kind of environment.
Coach K, obviously, unbelievable Hall of Fame career that he's had, and everybody takes something from a coach that you have. What do you take, if there's one thing to take from Coach K?
Well, I've never been around somebody who's been as passionate about something in their life as Coach K is about basketball. Basketball is what he lives, breathes. It's what's running through his mind all the time, and his determination, his focus, his willingness to spend extra hours. Like this guy, after games, will watch our game back and just watching it, dissecting different plays. So that's taken 2 to 3 hours to watch that back. Then he's watching other people's games in the ACC, not even just our next opponent, just other people's games. So some of the coaches were telling me sometimes they would be there till 2, 3 in the morning after games, watching film. And the next morning you get to the gym. We usually had some type of something in the morning, either it was breakfast or a lift or a meeting or something. He's there at like 7:30 before we have to get there at 9, and he's thinking about what he's going to say in the meeting, what his reaction is going to be from the last game. Like, what kind of attitude does he need to bring to our team for this week? And that level of commitment to something is just really showed all the guys, like that's what it takes to be great. Like, there's a reason he's the GOAT. It's because he dedicates all that time. He doesn't care that he's won championships in the past. All he cares about is what happened last game and what do I need to do next. And it was incredible to be around for 4 years, and I think it's shaped who I am a lot.
How much was it going to Duke, to be at Duke, play for Duke, and how much was it Coach K?
I think it was mostly playing for Coach K.
Yeah.
I wanted to be pushed by the guy who I thought was the best. And when I got that opportunity, when they offered me, I said yes immediately. Like, there's nothing else that I want.
Very cool. We got a couple of questions. One from Terry, just a simple question, and I don't know where you want to go with this, but your favorite Duke story.
Favorite Duke story. Favorite story. I'll say after so we won my freshman year, and the song by Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares, we listened to that in the locker room before every game. And from what I heard from previous teams is that Coach K wasn't really about like listening to music going right up into the game. Like, he wanted guys to be, he had previously thought, his opinion was that it didn't make them focus. Like, you're not focused if you're dancing around listening to some song. So, but Coach K, that year, he let us listen to this song like literally right up to we're about to leave. So we played Dreams and Nightmares right before every game, right before we ran on the court. So we win it that year. We come back to Durham, and we're in Cameron Indoor, and there's a bunch of students there. It's like a welcoming back and a congratulations. And Coach K, in his speech, he like raps one line of Dreams and Nightmares and says to everybody that Meek Mill is his favorite rapper. and that was like, everybody on our team just started dying laughing. That was one of the funniest moments we had.
Also got a question from Will. Will says, as we look back on Grayson from years ago, what advice would you have for 10-year-old Grayson Allen?
10-year-old, wow. Man, 10-year-old me was locked in on playing basketball. I don't know if I'd tell him anything else. I don't know. The only thing, the one thing that I think I would tell 10-year-old me is to remember to have fun with basketball and the grind and practice and everything, because with the amount of basketball that we play, with the amount of time we spend around the game, with the amount of time we spend watching film, if you don't have fun, if you're always hard on yourself, if you're negative, if you there's not a, it's not trying to say don't work too hard, but when you just overstress the hard work that you're putting in, you can forget to have fun with it. So I think that, I kind of had to find that a little bit in college, because when you're at Duke, it's basketball. And so you just have to remind yourself, just to have fun with the work. Remember you're playing a game. Remember you're blessed to play a game. Every time you step on that court, you play this game because you love it and because you have fun. Don't forget that. It's okay to get missing, but don't forget to have fun.
Absolutely. I can't believe that I forgot this, but just looking at some stuff, I saw you won the McDonald's All-American Dunk Contest. What? How? You won the dunk contest? How'd that happen?
I know. I jumped over Ja. Not John Morant, Ja Oakley.
Right.
Over Ja, and I turned and looked at the judges before, because when everybody jumps over somebody, they always push off on their back, which makes it, to me, less impressive. But I turned and I said, I'm not going to push off. And I just went and jumped over him. I won a dunk contest in high school, which makes it's really funny to me, because that was like going into college. I was a athletic driver that could shoot, and that's why I was a good driver. I'm not the quickest, but I could drive because I could shoot. And then when I get to the cup, I'm going to be athletic and try to finish. Now it's run them off the line, next to drive.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Do you have the trophy still?
Not here, but I do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about Coach K. Now, and then you played for Coach Snyder in Utah. Now with Coach Jenkins, those two work together. What did you learn in Coach Jenkins' first year?
Well, going back to the have fun thing, Coach Jenkins absolutely is incredible at making sure we have fun throughout the year, keeping it light. We're still getting our work in. We're still working hard. We're still focused up, but keeping it light, keeping it fun, because it's a long year. Coach Jenkins did an incredible job with that. I didn't feel burnt out at all this year after practices, playing more minutes than I have in my rookie year. It was an awesome team to be a part of. And Coach Jenkins is he's a great motivator. He's extremely positive. He's really good at, I think, us as players, we get on ourselves a lot, and we know when we mess up. And so there's sometimes you need to be reminded of that. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to hey, get it going. But then most of the time you need some positive reinforcement, some type of positive outlook on what's next, having a good next play speed, which is something I like to say, having a good next play speed, and Coach Jenkins is big about that. Moving on to the next thing, he's very positive, and so really cool to have a coach.
It seems as though you probably haven't had this problem in college or in the NBA because of what the coaches have done that you've played for. But it seems to me, at least being around a lot of coaches throughout these years, that the most important thing is there's that trust and that communication back and forth, especially during a huddle and during timeouts and things like that in a game. And to see everybody kind of paying attention, to see that there's communication back and forth between coach and players, that's got to be great for a player to know that you have a say in your team.
No, for sure. And we have a very young team, so he's trusting us. He's trusting the guys on the floor. He's trusting us as young players. He's like, he wants our feedback. He wants our opinion. He wants our outlook on what's going on coverage that he puts in, on what's going on for at any given time. Like there's a lot of give and take there, and he's made it a point to kind of create that environment where you shouldn't be afraid to, if you see something, to speak up. You shouldn't be hesitant. You shouldn't hold it back.
Next season, and who knows when that starts, but when next season starts, what do you think is the step that this team needs to take, and a step that you expect this team to take next year?
Well, I think we're gonna grow together as a team. I think having a young group together and kind of being able to start the next year off with as of now, a similar group is going to be huge for us because we get an opportunity to grow together. But I think that what we saw in those 8 games, or however many we played in the bubble, what we saw in those 8 games, the level of focus, the level of attention to detail, and kind of precision in the game plan that needs to happen. I think that's something that you can practice throughout the year, and I don't think that we as a team, like we don't have a lot of guys on our team with postseason experience, obviously, because we're so young. My limit of postseason experience before this year was 1 round in Utah, and so I didn't play much, but I saw from the outside like what it took to play in a postseason game. And so I think that that's our goal. Our goal is to get to the postseason, get to the playoffs, and whole year you get 82 games of practice to practice that attention to detail, practice precision of game plans, and practice that kind of tough togetherness that you need to play postseason basketball. And so I think that level of detail will be there, and that also comes with some experience. So more experience, more games we play, the better we should be.
Got a couple of questions from some of our MVPs. Lorenzo asking about you personally for next season. What do you want to do to improve your game? Where do you think you need to take a next step personally?
Well, I think offensively, I just need to continue to be a floor spacer. Ja is going to have the ball in his hand a lot, so as much as I can be ready to score off the ball, be involved in actions off the ball that keep people busy, that keep my man occupied, be ready to shoot, kind of being a secondary playmaker with being able to drive and attack, and it's, kind of start our offense with a kick or score the ball. Defensively, just continue to improve. I think this year I improved a lot. Watching some of the film, I did a really good job this year of staying active off the ball defensively, which had kind of been a weakness in the past. So I think for going into next year, it's just continuing to work on defensive footwork and not letting lazy habits get the best of me. So that's getting tired in practice, and then continue to do defensive drills, which is a lot of fun. But that's where you have to remind yourself to have fun with basketball when you're.
Yeah.
But, that's footwork defensively, and continuing to be a weapon and kind of expand that shooting scoring ability off it.
Eugene asked something very similar. He asks, as you prepare for a season year in and year out, what do you have to do mentally to prepare for a season?
Well, in the off season, you have to take a little bit of time to get away from basketball, and then come back and you're ready to work. And I think for me, the off season is a great time to focus in on a specific thing and kind of train hard at it. Because during the year you can't train really hard on your body and one specific skill or a couple of specific skills. One, because the demand of season doesn't allow you to lift as hard, to train as hard that you want to do specifically for your body. So for me, like someone who was injured this last year, another goal of mine is to just play 82 games next year. I don't want to be injured. So to best prepare myself physically for that, I have to work hard now. And when the season comes, you lighten that load up so you can play. Mentally, you want to keep yourself as fresh as possible, without compromising your workouts. So that's like I did, taking a trip to Aspen and going in the mountains for my birthday, having fun, kind of getting away from basketball for a little bit. You come back and you get your work in, and you want to stay fresh for that 82 game season that's coming up, so that when you come into it, you're not already tired from 4 hard months of workouts. No, you have to keep yourself fresh.
Yeah. Chip also asked, as far as you going forward, how would you describe your role with this Grizzlies team? And are you a shooting guard, small forward, or do we just call you a wing, or are you just positionless basketball player?
I love positionless basketball. I think some type of combo guard is probably an accurate answer to that. But I think we're all kind of carving out our roles, especially guys who aren't Ja. As our point guard, he's going to have the ball in his hands. We know that. It's pretty clear. And I think so for me personally, I've kind of felt a little bit of what it will look like in the bubble in those 8 games when I started to play more minutes. It's a guy who's chasing people around defensively and being active off the ball, and then offensively being ready to shoot, be a floor spacer, and being ready to be some type of secondary playmaker.
All right, I want to ask you about some teammates. You just mentioned Ja. Playing with Ja, what impresses you about his game?
It's very what's the word? Very patient. Very patient basketball player. Like, there are games where the first quarter, maybe even first half goes by, and he's taking only a few shots with having the ball in his hands so much, and then fourth quarter comes by and he has 13, 14, 15 points in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of him, patience of him coming out, comes off his first 3 or 4 pick and rolls, and he knows exactly what they're going to do coverage-wise for the rest of the game, and he's finding his reads, and then he figures that out, and then he starts carving them up, getting 10 assists, and then he puts a little bit more pressure on them to stay at home more, and then he gets 15 points in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know, he did that countless times this year, and he's got a lot of maturity to his game to be able to do that as a rookie.
Jaren, what do you see in Jaren?
Jaren is we call him our unicorn. I see all the time on Twitter, like he can do everything. You talk about positionless basketball. Sometimes I call this guy out there on the court, bringing it up and jacking threes from 30 feet, making 3, 4, 5 in a row. Like he's a freak offensively. He's amazing defensively because he can switch and stay up there and guard somebody, or he can drop back, and then with his length and athleticism, he's blocking shots at the rim and rebounding. He's such a versatile basketball player to play with.
Tyus, how different is he from when you guys were cutting nets down?
He is not much different. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, he's obviously gotten a ton better than when he was a freshman at Duke, but like his game he had like a 40-year-old point guard game as like it's crazy the fact that a freshman in college can go out there and just drop assist after assist after assist with no turnovers. Like, and he's continued to be that way in the NBA. I think not last year, but the year before, he had some type of record on assist to turnover ratio, or he was close to one. Like, he's such a good, solid point guard that he finds guys. And that's one thing you learn about with playing with him is to always keep your head up, look for the ball on fast breaks. He's always looking to push it ahead. And another guy he's a guy who he's a lot more athletic than he leads on. Like he leads. I don't think he's dunked the ball in 3 or 4 years. Like, and that's clearly just because he doesn't want to. He's still playing it, and he has a burst of speed, but he doesn't play with that speed all the time. He's not full speed up and down the court. He has a nice pace to his game.
We unfortunately haven't seen Justice play a game yet. What can we expect?
Justice is another guy who is an extremely active player. He makes a lot of plays defensively just because of his activity. He's a great on-ball defender. And then offensively, he's one of those positionless guys. And we have a lot of those. But he's one of those guys that, like, at one point this year, I'm pretty sure, or at one point, like 2 years ago with Miami, he was playing the 5. 2 or 3 years ago. They were super small. He was playing the 5. And then we played them this year towards the beginning of the year, and he was in Miami. He was playing point guard.
Right.
So that kind of speaks to the range of things that he can do on the basketball court. As he can set guys up and play point, run an offense. He can drive and dish, or he can kind of play in that dunker area and play in the paint for floaters and finishes at the rim.
All right. Want to ask you about the community. And now that you've been in Memphis for a season, first of all, how have you kind of fit in? How have you settled in Memphis?
I'm loving it in Memphis so far. Most of my time that's spent in the city of Memphis is outside with my dog Teddy and walking him around with my girlfriend, or finding a park to go to, or a dog park, or something, in some kind of adventure. But I'm loving Memphis, loving the area, love the vibe of downtown.
You do a lot of community work, as this entire organization does, and it's something the Grizzlies have done so well in this community since they've been in Memphis. How much do you see that as a organizational thing and something that you want to do?
Well, I think Memphis really wants, or the Grizzlies organization really wants to give back to Memphis, and they show it through all that they do, through the activities, through the volunteer events that they have the whole team, players, coaches involved in. I think they kind of promote that within the team, and I think myself and a bunch of other guys on the team, we feel the love from the city of Memphis. We feel the support, and this is a place that we like to be, and that is our home. As NBA players, you don't know how long something's going to be your home for, but where we are calling this place home, and so you always want to give back to the area that you're living in, and so we try to figure out ways, whether that's through the team or through something external, but always trying to figure out ways to give back and be involved in.
Well, Grayson, it was a pleasure visiting with you tonight. Thank you so much for taking time out to visit with the MVPs tonight. Great chatting with you. Hopefully we'll see you again real soon, and hopefully we'll get the season started as soon as possible. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's Grayson Allen joining us here tonight on this MVP Chalk Talk. Thank you for joining us, and we'll do it again real soon. For Grayson, I'm Fish. Have yourself a great night.